YouTube you. Woo! Mr. King coming at you live. Okay, today we are going to be talking about teacher-led versus student-led questions. Okay, let's jump right into it. So, to start, teacher-led questions, this is the standard in education. So basically teachers pose questions to students for the kids to answer and think about. The pros to teacher-led questions include they're often standards aligned. You, as a teacher, have control over rigor of questions, and students are used to this. This is what they've been doing since kindergarten. However, on the opposite end, the cons. There can be reduced student engagement and reduced student autonomy and critical thinking because a lot of the heavy lifting in terms of like cognition is on the teacher. In contrast, we have student-led questions. So student-led questions, if well executed, they lead to deep learning and they foster student discussion, collaboration, and student inquiry. So you have a lot of gains if students are able to drive their learning themselves. However, this can be hard to execute and it can take more time to model the process and get students used to it. Also, scaffolds are recommended, such as question stems, and students need feedback over time to work up to really good investigatable questions. What many educators think the best practice is to combine student and teacher-led questions. So in the beginning of the year, in step 1, you want the teacher to model how to generate questions and how to find the answer. And then once the students are comfortable on knowing how to ask questions, then the teacher would ask the students to come up with questions themselves, like exploring a phenomenon, for example. So then the students would be generating their own questions, and then based on their questions, at the very end, you'd want students to investigate their question themselves, using the skills that they've learned from the teacher and their questioning process. So this is like the best practice. It's really optimal to use a combination, first teacher, and then working your way up to student-led questions. What is the purpose of questions at all? Why not just focus on the answer? So students who ask questions are reflecting what they already know and what they seek to learn. So the process of thinking of a question makes you reflect on what you've learned so far, and then it pushes you to think, what do you still need to figure out? And this metacognition enhances learning because kids are connecting what they know and how they learned it. So that's why questioning can be really beneficial for learning. Now I'm going to take a sample lesson that I always do, and I'm going to explain how it could be more student-led. So here's a fun activity that I did when I was a student. The question is, can you taste the rainbow? So this is something I did at the beginning of the year to teach students the scientific method. So the question that I give students is, can you taste the rainbow? And the students and I go over how could we investigate this? Using Skittles, how could we actually see if kids can or customers can taste the rainbow? And then at the end of the lab, students will often do blind tests and write down in their data table how many of the flavors they got right. And then they'll answer in a CER whether they can taste the rainbow. Now, I was the one that came up with the question, or technically the Skittles Corporation did, but it could be modified. Um, at the end, the students have to defend the corporation to argue what flaws were in their experiment. Anyways, how this could be better and more student-led is using the QFT method. So that's question formulation technique. So something that you could do instead is to play Skittles commercials and ask students to come up with at least 4 questions, but no answering. So for example, I play a compilation of Skittles commercials and have the kids asking questions while the commercials are going on. And then, based on what questions they come up with, ask students to choose one question that they wrote that they can investigate using the Skittles, the materials that are available to them, including Skittles. So they write a bunch of questions, they don't try and answer them, and then they pick one to investigate. And then at the end, you ensure that the students can answer their question using the scientific method and the materials available to them. So in the past, when kids ask questions, they ask a lot of questions that you wouldn't be able to answer that day. Or a lot of kids ask questions about the money of things, like how much do Skittles make? So you need to make sure as the teacher that whatever they choose to investigate, they can do using Skittles. So this could be like, can you taste the rainbow? Or it can be like, what's the most popular Skittle flavor? Or it could be like, are some flavors easier to taste than others? These are all the kinds of questions that students can come up with and answer for themselves. So that's an example of how we can take a lesson, like having everyone answer, can you taste the rainbow? And making it more student-led. And here are my sources. Thank you so much for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. Have a great day.